Hey, you cool cats and kittens. It's Miss Yabut. Whoa, sweet shades. Scholars, today is going to be our last day working on theme. Can you say, oh man? Friends, can you remind me, what is theme? Tell me. Great job, friends. Yes. So, scholars, today we are going to think about the text we read yesterday, the frog prince and the lizard and the mosquito, and we're going to be thinking about a common theme. In order to do that, we need to look at our planners from yesterday and think about which parts of STORY they have in common. Now, I know that many of us already submitted our planners from yesterday. So let's look at how we can get to those planners today. From your assignment page, you can go back to your home page and classwork. And just like we did last week, you can click View Your Work. I see here that I already turned in my assignment for yesterday, April 9th. So I'm going to click that assignment and click View Details. Notice how instead of turn in here, it says unsubmit. For some of us, that might look a little different. If this says submit or turn in, then you can click this document. But if this says unsubmit, your teachers have yet to get that work back to you, you can click this button for now so that you can highlight in our planners. I'm going to click unsubmit for yesterday's assignment. And I'm going to click it again. Now, let's open back up my work from yesterday. Friends, remember that yesterday you would have read all of the frog prints and annotated our planners, which we did yesterday. Remember that the theme that we came up with yesterday was you should keep the promises you make. Let's review what you came up with for the lizard and the mosquito. I love this story. I'm going to continue scrolling down and notice how I have highlighted my evidence from yesterday. The setting for the lizard and the mosquito was in a desert in the morning. The main characters were the lizard and the mosquito. The lizard was really thirsty and wanted water, but couldn't find any in the desert. But then he saw the mosquito and decided to eat him because he's so thirsty. But the mosquito doesn't want to be eaten, so the mosquito convinced the lizard to follow him to water. And the lizard, although skeptical, changed his mind and decided to follow the mosquito instead of eating him. Much to the lizard's surprise, he realized that the mosquito could help him because he led him to water. The theme that I came up with was to be kind to all you meet, for you don't know who will prove to be your friend. Scholars, if you had a similar theme, show me a high five. Now that I have both texts annotated and both STORY planners complete, I can compare. Are the settings, characters, problems, solutions, and attempts to resolve the same or different? Let's start with the setting. Now I'm scrolling up to passage 1. The setting for the Frog Prince was in a king's castle near a dark forest. The setting for passage 2 was in a desert in the morning. Are those the same or different? Right. Those are a little bit different. Scholars, now let's look at the characters. The characters were the king, the princess, and the frog prince. But we know that the princess and the frog were the main characters. At first, the princess was a little bit selfish and was afraid of the frog and disgusted. But at the end of the story, she was surprised that he ended up being a prince. The frog, of course, wanted the princess to be his friend because we learned at the end he didn't want to be a frog. In passage 2, the characters were the lizard and the mosquito. The lizard wanted water and was surprised that the mosquito could actually help him get it, while the mosquito did not want to be eaten by the lizard, so he wanted to help him find water. Scholars, while we don't have the exact same characters in both stories, I'm noticing something about the characters' motivations and perspectives about other characters. In passage 1, our main character who learned a lesson, the princess, was at first did not like the frog, but ended up surprised that he was a prince. Similarly, in passage 2, the lizard wanted to eat the mosquito, but ended up being surprised that he could help him. In both texts, it seems like both characters were surprised by the secondary characters. It sounds like these two texts have that in common. This time, friends, instead of drawing a star, which I can't really do on the computer, I want you to pick your favorite color. Remember, Miss Yabut is blue. And highlight that similar evidence. At first, the princess didn't think much of the frog, but was surprised that he was a prince. And in passage 2, the lizard was surprised that the mosquito could help him. Take a minute to pick your favorite colors and highlight those. Great. Now, let's look at the frog in passage 1. Now, let's look closer at the frog in passage 1. Notice, now, let's look closer at the frog in passage 1. We know that he wanted the princess to be his friend because he didn't want to be a frog anymore. In passage 2, the mosquito didn't want to be eaten, so he wanted to help the lizard. So, in both passages, it seems like the frog wanted something from the princess to get what he wanted, and the mosquito needed something from the lizard to get what he wanted. Let's highlight that evidence. The frog didn't want to be a frog, so he needed the princess to help with that. And the mosquito didn't want to be eaten and needed the lizard to help with that. Let's keep reading. In my problem 4, in passage 1, the princess promised to be Frog's friend even though she didn't want to. And in passage 2, the lizard couldn't find water. These are pretty different, so let's keep reading. In our attempt to resolve, the king ordered the princess to keep her promise, which she decided to do, even though she had other thoughts. In passage 2, the lizard decided to follow the mosquito, even though he had second thoughts. The princess kept her promise, even though she wasn't sure about that. And the lizard followed the mosquito, even though he wasn't sure about that. Take a moment to highlight those pieces of evidence in your planner. Great. Let's look at our themes, the most important box. The princess learned that keeping her promise to Frog had a reward. The lesson that the lizard learned was that the mosquito could actually help him. It seems in both of these texts, the main character trusted the secondary character and something good happened to them. What do we think? Right. Let's go ahead and highlight our evidence. Scholars, remember, now that we've looked at both of our planners from yesterday, we need to put that same information in our planners today. Let's go back, and instead of clicking on yesterday's assignment, we are going to click on today's assignment. And click on your work. It should say your name. ELA Masters, here I'm going to scroll all the way. I see that I have my 2 texts, but I'm going to keep scrolling because I already read and annotated these texts yesterday. Okay, so now we're looking at today, scrolling all the way down until I get to my 1 planner. We will not be rewriting the evidence that we wrote in yesterday's planner. Instead, we are just writing these parts that I highlighted that I found they both had in common. ELA Rockstars, can you tell me which letters in S, T, O, R, and Y did we find that both texts had in common? Tell me. If you said the T, R, and Y boxes, give me a pound it. Yes, we found that the characters had similar perspectives and motivations. They tried to solve their problem in a similar way and learned a similar lesson about the other character. The princess learned a lesson about the frog, and the lizard learned a lesson about the mosquito. We are just going to fill out in our April 10th assignments only the T, R, and Y boxes because we had those in common. Friends, if you'd like, you can highlight that in your favorite color. Now, going back to my text from yesterday, both characters were surprised by the other character. Let's add that to my planner for today. Remember, when I'm talking about what they have in common, I will start with both the princess and the lizard were surprised by the other character, even though they were not sure at first. Go ahead and take a minute to type that in your planner. Good. I also realized that both the frog and the mosquito didn't want something to happen and needed the other character to fix that for them. Both the frog and the mosquito needed the other character to help them. Take a minute and add that to your planner. Great. Now, let's skip to our R. In both texts, the characters decided to follow the other character's instructions, even though they weren't sure at first. In passage 1, the princess decided to keep her promise, and in passage 2, the lizard decided to follow the mosquito. So both the princess and the lizard decided to follow the frog and the mosquito's instructions. Take a minute and add that to your planner. Good. Now, scholars, let's look at the theme. In both texts, the main characters were surprised to learn that doing something for the other character could lead to good things. The princess learned that keeping her promise to Frog had a reward, and the lizard learned that helping the mosquito meant that the mosquito could help him. Let's add that to our planner. Both the princess and the lizard learned that helping the other characters could lead to good things. Take a minute to add that to our planner. Can you remind me, when I compare two texts, do I need to write in every box of STORY? No way! Now that we've compared both texts, let's look at our questions. Remember to scroll all the way down past our planner to the guided practice and independent practice questions. We'll do the guided practice questions together. You will be working on independent practice questions on your own. Let's look at question 1. Which sentence best describes the theme of the Frog Prince? ELA Masters, can you remind me, what box should I look at to answer number 1? If you said the Y box, go ahead and kiss your brain. Wonderful. We're going to look at the Y box for passage 1. I remember that the Frog Prince was passage 1. So at the bottom, next to number 1, I will annotate Y for Y box, then passage 1. I also want to make sure as a good reader that I highlight or annotate all my important words in my question. It's asking me for the theme of the Frog Prince. I know that in my planners, I write the theme in the Y box, and the Frog Prince was my first passage. Now, let's use our poll codes to answer our questions. Remember, if you don't remember your poll codes, you can always go back to your classwork and go to resources to help you. Let's go. A, be careful around strange animals. Going back to my planners from last week, is my lesson from passage 1 that I should be careful of strange animals? No. I don't really think that there's a lot of evidence for this answer choice. So I'm going to put an X and write NE. Go ahead and take 1 minute to do that now. Great. Letter B, promises should be kept. Does that match my theme that I found yesterday? You should keep the promises you make. Agree or disagree? I see some of us agree. So I'm going to highlight this answer choice and press the B button for bold. I'm not sure yet if that's the correct answer because I still need to use my poll codes. But I can't quite draw a check mark in a Google document, so we'll use the bold button. Letter C, take care of the objects you own. I do remember that was a problem that the princess had in the beginning of the story, but that's not what the whole story was about. This answer choice gives me too many details about one part of the story, not the whole story. I think that this is too specific. Take 1 minute to go ahead and write that down. Good. Letter D, dream big. Does that match my theme I came up with, that you should keep the promises you make? Not really. We can write no evidence. Friends, it looks like letter B is our correct answer. I'm going to, again, highlight that in my favorite color. Now it's your turn. You will have about 3 minutes to answer numbers 2 and 3. Remember to use our highlighting tool, the bold tool, your PO codes, and yesterday's, as well as today's STORY planners to help you answer numbers 2 and 3. You will have about 3 minutes, then we'll come back together and see how we did. Get ready and go. Ten more seconds, scholars. Time's up. Let's see what we wrote in our questions. Number 2, what did the princess and the lizard have in common that helped them solve their problems? Scholars, is this question asking about passage 1, passage 2, or both? Yes, it's asking for both passages. Let's annotate our question to make sure that we remember that. This question is asking about the princess and the lizard in both texts. So next to my question, I'm going to write that it's asking about both passages. Letter A. The princess and the lizard use another character to get what they wanted. As a good reader, if I'm comparing two texts, I need to ask myself, is this true in passage 1? Is this true in passage 2? Letter A. The princess, did she use another character to get what she wanted in the story? Remember, you can go back into the text and your planners. Yes, the princess needed the frog to get her ball. Did the lizard use another character to get what he wanted? The lizard needed to ask the mosquito to help him find water. So far, it looks like this answer is true for both texts. So I'm going to bold it. But remember, we need to use our poll codes to check the rest of our answers. B. Both characters were from a royal family. Remember, I have to ask myself, is this true for passage 1 and passage 2? Is the princess part of a royal family? Is the lizard part of a royal family? No. Scholars, this is not true for passage 2. So I wrote XNT 2. Good. Let's check letter C. The princess and the lizard were weak. Passage 1. Was the princess weak? Not really. I'm going to write X not true for passage 1. And I know I don't need to ask this for passage 2 if passage 1 is already not true. Letter D. The princess and the lizard were both searching for something. Passage 1. Was the princess searching for something that helped her solve her problem? Was the lizard searching for something that helped him solve his problem? Scholars, both the princess and the lizard were searching for something, but this was not something that helped them solve their problems. This answer sounds like it's answering a different question. So I'm going to write not relevant. It seems like our answer is letter A. Show me a yes if you got that. Good. And number 3. How do the princess and the lizard feel at the end of both stories? Is this question asking me about passage 1, passage 2, or both? Yes, it's asking about both. And it's asking about the end of both stories. So I can probably look at both my T boxes because it's asking about characters and the Y box for both passages. Let's look back at my planners. In passage 1, it says that the princess was afraid of the dog and disgusted at first, but was surprised that he was a prince and learned that keeping her promise to him had a reward. In passage 2, the lizard wanted water and was surprised the mosquito could help him and learned that even the smallest creatures can help. Let's look back at our questions. The princess and the lizard were worried. Right. They didn't feel like that at the end of both stories, so this is not relevant. Confused. Right. There wasn't really a lot of evidence in either text that they were confused. C, surprised. Right. We had written in both planners that both characters ended up being surprised by the other character. The princess was surprised by the frog, and the lizard was surprised by the mosquito. Of course, we need to make sure that we bold this and check our last answer. Cautious. Right. This does not describe how both characters felt at the end of the stories, so we can put not relevant. And our correct answer is letter C. Friends, if you had 1, 2, and 3 all correct, show me a yes. Great. Today, you will be working on numbers 4, 5, and 6 on your own. Scholars, tonight you will be finishing this independent practice on your own. Don't forget to use your favorite colors to annotate your questions and use your PO codes. For number 4, you will be writing an RAC response. When finished, click the Turn In button here, and don't forget to also click the Turn In button, and don't forget to also click the Turn In button in your assignment. Scholars, I am so proud of your hard work this week and last week practicing themes. I can't wait to see your thinking and have you back in reading next week. Have a great day, scholars, and a great weekend.